Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you the Network tab in Chrome DevTools. Now, the Network tab is a deep well of really cool stuff that you can learn to see how exactly your site's loading your content. So now this video is really just going to be an introduction to seeing what the sort of tools are you have and how you can sort of debug your site. So let's get going on that right now. So we've experienced now the basic sort of device mode, but what are some ways that we can dive in deeper to see exactly how the site is loading? Now, one thing that we have here is a couple of really neat tools in the Chrome DevTools, some of which you can get really deep on. In this video, we're going to start to talk about the Networks tab in Chrome DevTools, and really just why it exists and how to use it. So let's come in and inspect our page, and I'm actually going to break out the DevTools into its own window. You can do that by clicking and holding on here, selecting the window above. I'm going to do it this way just because it's a lot of information here, and we want to make sure we can see it all. So when you arrive on the Networks tab, it's blank. And you may have seen this and wondered, okay, what's here and why do I need this? Well, if we come to any given web page, let's go to the store.leveluptutorials.com. So if we're on our page, and let's actually make this a bit smaller so we can see them both, we can actually see something going on here. You'll see that when we refresh the page, this starts to populate. So you'll notice that for me, this site loaded really quickly, which is a great thing here. And we have a couple of bars here. We have this red bar, and then we have this blue bar. Now the blue bar is the total length it took for the DOM content to be loaded, and the red bar is the total load time. In addition, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff here. We have this table, we have this view, we have this filter bar. Let's go ahead and get rid of the filter bar for right now. It just allows you to filter these contents. Now what we can do here is, let's make this a little bit bigger and let's start to explore. So we have a nice table here. We have what's being loaded. We have the method, so this is via get. We have the status, so you'll see 200s and 304s and maybe some 404s or other things, but the 200s are essentially saying that this has been loaded for the first time and this is a fresh load. The 304 is basically saying it's being loaded from your cache. So if you want to make sure that everything is being loaded freshly every time, there's this disable caching button. You can select this, and now this time when you refresh, so now you can see that we have mostly 200s, and the load time was a little bit longer now that it's not pulling things from cache, but we're still at 1.44 seconds for loading, and that's pretty good considering that some of the largest load times are coming from some of our images. Okay, so now next on our little table here, we have what type of file is being loaded. We have a documents, we have a style sheet, we have scripts, we have style sheet, we have scripts. We have a document. The initiator is sort of what is telling this item to load. So a lot of this stuff is being told by our index page. Next, we have our size of the file. So these are going to be your file sizes. And this is going to be the amount of time it took for that particular file to load. And this is your timeline view. And if you have more things on here than fills up, you can scroll down, but it gives you a nice view if you hover over any of these, showing exactly, let's say this one took a long time. We can see that it was waiting for 67 milliseconds, and then it actually took 295 milliseconds to load. And you can get some more in-depth explanation by clicking this. Now, what's great here is that this entire table is sortable, so we can certainly say time. Let me see. So the thing that took the longest to load on this entire page was this lady's t-shirt, and it's a 492 kilobyte file. It's 624 milliseconds long to load. And if we hover over this, you can see that most of that time was spent downloading. Now, one thing that's really important to note about this is I know that this image is larger than this is being displayed because I'm using the same image here. Now this is actually a terrible practice. If you're having images that are being loaded and that are quite a bit smaller, what you're going to want is a responsive image loader. Our iLoader is a good option for that, and then you can load in multiple different images, and that way the one at the correct width will load for when you need it to. That way you're not loading a giant image when you don't have to. So we're going to go over a technique to do that in a later video, not too far down the line, because that's one of the first things that you can do to make an impact on your page load. But as you notice here, by using this network tab, we can get some really nice insights into what exactly is taking the longest to load and how we can stop that from happening, right? So another thing that's taking a long time to load is this font awesome file, right? And this is a 63 kilobyte font file. Now, if you were really going to try to chop off some time here, right, what you could actually do is build your own icon font using another service, using only the icons you need instead of loading the entire font awesome library. Now, it's not totally necessary. This page is loading still in 1.4 seconds, and when it's cached, it's loading quite a bit faster than that. But if you're absolutely performance obsessed, this network pane here is going to give you a lot of insight into what's going on. And if we click this filter here, right here, we can actually filter in and say, show me just the CSS, just the images, just the media, all that good stuff here, and it just gives us a little bit more of a filtered view, or you can even search for things. Cool, so this is the network tab in Chrome DevTools. Now, I'm not going to act like this is the be-all definitive video explaining this network tab. In fact, once we start to really dive into some stuff, we may even come back here and pick apart the network tab a bit more. But it's an important resource for you to know that it's a great fact-finding to know what resources are taking a long time to load and why your website loading time might in fact be slow. Cool, so for another example really quick, let's just check out Level Up Tutorial site. I'm going to inspect this page. I'm then going to come to my network tab and I'm going to refresh this page. And as you can see, this loaded in 1.7 seconds. Now keep in mind, disabled caching is still checked. Once you check it, it remains checked. So that's important to remember. If you would have expected this to pull the checked, the cached versions of things, you're going to want to make sure that you uncheck this regardless of what site you're on. And keep in mind that your filter is also going to carry over. So this is only showing us our JavaScript. We check the all, and you can see, let's check out our time. You can see that one of the things that's taking the longest to load here is this shatter.ping image, which is this background image, and that image is entirely unnecessary. And one of the things to note about this is that this shatter.ping image is preventing the full page load. So maybe you could look into something to actually loading that image after the fact. That way it's not getting in the way of something else finishing your site to load. So what's really nice about this is that the site is still loading in under 1.5 seconds. Nothing is really huge here. We have the longest anything's taking to load is 357 milliseconds, and that's a aggregated JavaScript file. Modernizer is a library that's also being loaded. It's taking 202 milliseconds. We have some things like the font awesome, again, is a 42 kilobyte file that could potentially be slimmed down a little bit. But like I said, this is just sort of really nitpicking here, because at this point a really fast load time and there's no visible sort of delay in loading here. What's also cool though is that you can enable the same sort of throttling we saw in the device mode inside of this network mode, so that you can really get a good handle on what somebody with a really slow internet connection is going to see when they load your site. Okay, so this is the network tab in Chrome DevTools. I hope this was very informative. I hope you now know to dive into the network tools to figure out just exactly how your site's loading. Next video, we're going to talk about the timeline tab in Chrome DevTools, which is another very interesting tab that we could go way more in depth on if we need to. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the video or hit me up at Twitter or Facebook at Level Up Tutorials. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.